Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Theravada Buddhism series, Dhamma talk number 75. Notable events in the year of third and fourth Vasa of the Buddha. Buddha spent the third and the fourth rain retreat Vasa in Rajagaha city. In this talk we are going to mention some of the notable events which took place during that 2 years period. The first one is related to a donor of the Jeta grove. If you remember the wealthy merchant of Rajagaha who donated meditation huts at Velubana Park before the second rain retreat. He had a friend, Sudatta, from Savatthi, another city, another kingdom. His friend is also his in-law. And Sudatta visited him quite often on business trips because they both were merchants. Sudatta had a tremendously generous heart. On his visit to Rajagaha, he came to know about the Buddha from his friend, and he went and paid respect to the Buddha. When he came in, Buddha automatically called out his name. Sudatta, come over here, come over here. On his first visit. After that, after hearing the Buddha's sermons and contemplating upon the Dhamma, Sudatta became the first stream winner, Satipatthana. He invited the Buddha to visit Savatthi, his hometown. It's about 360 miles away from Rajagaha city. And Buddha visited Savatthi after the second rain retreat. So, in his third year. And this Sudatta probably was the wealthiest man in Savatthi. Let's call it a billionaire. and was well known as Anathapindika. His real name is Sudatta, but people call him Anathapindika. Which means helper and feeder of the poor and needy. He's always helping out people who are in need and feeding the hungry and the homeless, not once or twice, all the time. That's why he's known as Anathapindika. And he was one of the critical devotees and supporters of the Buddha and bhikkhus for full requisites. Full requisite means robes, food, shelter, and medicine. Those are the full requisites of a monk. He provided all those full requisites to the Buddha and the monks in Savatthi. And after he had invited the Buddha, he came back to Savatthi, and him and his friends built 45 resting shelters between the two cities so that Buddha could travel with ease. So 360 divided by 45, about every 8 miles he built a little bit of a shelter so that the Buddha and the monks could rest. And when he got back to his city Savatthi, he was looking for the suitable land for the Buddha to reside near Savatthi. Suitable means not too far from the city, not too near from the city. Too far people won't go. Too near, it's too noisy and everybody will be shuttling in and out. A quiet place, that's a suitable place. And he set his eyes on a wooded park that belonged to the prince Jata, son of Pasenadi, King Pasenadi of Kosala kingdom. Savatthi is the capital, the city. Kosala is the kingdom. In the scripture it stated, the prince reluctantly sold his park for 70 million gold coins. And Anathapindika donated the Jeta Grove Park. As the park belongs to Jeta, it's known as Jeta Grove. I just call it park, Jeta Park. With permanent monastic structures and buildings, because he built not only just the land, he built permanent buildings, in other words, big monasteries and many various meditation huts, gathering place, big Dharma hall, and so on. That building was donated to the Buddha, and the Buddha accepted on behalf of Sangha. not for himself, on behalf of Sangha. And this place is a welcome place for all bhikkhu monks who comes from 4 directions. Anybody who came, stay there, live there, practice Dhamma, and help out what is necessary. And after the ceremony, after spending a few days after the ceremony, the Buddha went back to Rajagaha before the rain retreat, because the Buddha spent the 3rd rain retreat in Rajagaha, not in Savatthi, even though a bit park and a monastery were donated to him and the monks. The first time that Buddha actually spent his rain retreat in that Jeta Grove is the 14th Vasa. Only on the 14th year after his enlightenment, he spent the rain retreat at Jeta Grove. And the next was on the 21st rain retreat, but this time from 21st to 45th. Altogether 25 rain retreats. Till he passed away, the Buddha spent his rain retreats at Jeta Grove. So the last 25 years of the Buddha's life, Buddha spent rain retreat in Savatthi. And one more time before that, it's on the 14th, 26 years. Out of 45 years, 26 years the Buddha spent rain retreats at the Jeta Grove, at Savatthi in Kosala Kingdom. So it is a very significant place. Most of the Dhamma talk Buddha gave to Anathapindika were about morality, 5 precepts, in a deeper way, and about ethics, how people, governments, subject, ruler should behave, act, react, and the benefits one could get from generosity. And also not just simply generosity in details. What is the proper way to do a charity so that one can get the maximum benefit? Teaching about letting go, helping others. There's nothing wrong with being rich, the richest man, as long as you don't hog your wealth, but share with the needy. Share to organizations and people who can in turn do a lot of good work. In other words, not just one good deed. That deed can multiply and multiply and multiply. That's a way to donate. In our modern day, we can call it like Bill Gates would be like that. Anathapindika. He accumulates wealth, he gives back wealth for the benefits of many who needs it in the way he believes, for the wholesome purpose. The Buddha taught many people in Savatthi because 26 years, especially in rain retreats, 3 months, people comes and goes, comes and go, comes and go. And it's said that every 5 out of 7 people who receive Dhamma from the Buddha became the first stream winner, Satipatthana. That is in Savatthi city. People comes and go, listen. 26 years, every 5 out of 7 become Satipatthana. So, Anathapindika donation assisted many people at Savatthi in getting onto the path. So he has produced an enormous amount of karma. And he did all these things without any expectation in return. So that is one notable event happened in the 3rd year of the Buddha's ministry. The donation of the Jeta Grove to the Buddha and the monks. These are just a small brief account. If you want details, you can go and read in the scripture. Okay, let's see another one. When the Buddha visited Kapilavatthu before the same rain retreat, Kapilavatthu is his hometown. His half-brother Nanda, who was about to get married, became a monk. So I'm trying to pick up how the story started. It was about his brother. Brother Nanda was about to get married. Buddha visited the city upon the invitation of the king, the father, and his half-brother and the son became monks. Of course, as he was about to get married, he wouldn't be too happy about it. Now, at the Jeta Grove donation ceremony, which means the 3rd year, other monks, knowing that Nanda is Buddha's half-brother, they are a little bit curious. He asked Nanda the story of becoming a monk. How do you become a monk? Nanda explained becoming a monk due to the pressure from his relatives and also a bit scared of the big brother, the Buddha. He became a monk, and since then he was unhappy. So the monk thought, if he is unhappy, we should better help him out, otherwise it's no good. The monks told the story to the Buddha. And for that 1 whole year, 2nd retreat into the 3rd retreat, almost 1 year, the Buddha taught him nothing. The Buddha taught Nanda nothing. Because the Buddha knew that it was not the right time. To be a great teacher, you have to know the right time, the right place, the right person, and what and how to deliver. But after the monk told him, the Buddha knew this is the right time. Only then the Buddha told his brother that they are going to the Dewa Rams. You come along with me, I'm going to the Dewa Ram. There, Nanda saw many female Devas. And then the Buddha asked him, who is prettier? Your bride to be Kalyani or these female Devas? The brother answered, of course. Compared to the female Devas, Kalyani was like a old monkey. That's a comparison. So the Buddha said, if you want these female Devas, you must practice as I instructed. Suddenly the brother changed the mind. He didn't want his Kalyani, the human bride, but the Devas, because it is uncomparable. The Buddha used one object of desire replaced by another for his brother to practice Dhamma. That's a technique he used. The brother practiced day and night. And of course, the other monks saw Nanda, because it was around that time was in a Savatthi Jada Grove. The change of attitude, because he's practicing day and night, not talking, not moping. So the other monks probe him, revealing the truth. Why? So you have to answer the truth. Because I want the female Devas. And suddenly, under that situation, Nanda got embarrassed and was full of shame. Because of that, he began to practice Dhamma sincerely. Dhamma for the sake of Dhamma. When he came to experience that everything ceased, in other words, he understands anicca, everything that arises ceased. Then his grasp, upadana, on the female Deva vanished. He became an arahant at the Jada Grove monastery in Savatthi. In the third year, he became a monk on the second year of the Buddha ministry, became arahant on the third year. After all these affairs in Savatthi with Jada Grove, the Buddha returned to Rajagaha to spend the third rain retreat there. We talk about this one notable event to point out that Buddha used many methods to teach many different peoples to be liberated from samsara, the end of all form of suffering. Again, this is just a brief story. Okay, let's touch the third event, notable event. There was a hermit named Agikata. And 1,000 followers. He is a huge follower. That's why we call it notable. It's a mass event. Agikata and 1,000 followers lived at the border of Magadha and Kuru kingdom, two different kingdoms. At the border, they live in a big forest. And this group, they worship trees, forests, mountains, water, fire. In general, I think natural objects. And also like fire and water can produce great dangers to people. They worship these objects for protection, to be safe. Buddha knew about this group, and he knew their belief would get them into a downward spiral in samsara. If they keep on staying like that, they will go downward in samsara. So for their benefits, he went there and asked, of course, the leader, to give him a place to stay near them. Agikata wasn't quite pleased, but reluctantly he allowed the Buddha to stay in a cave, a little farther from the major center, in a cave. And near that cave too, not too far from, there lives a great naga. What it is naga is a huge, big, enormous serpent with power. And the naga is so famous, his name is Ahisata. He's called Ahisata. That big serpent lives around there, and the people were scared. Probably that's why Agikata put the Buddha in a cave not too far from the big serpent, I guess, so that the Buddha was scared and run away. Because he didn't want the Buddha to be there. Knowing the situation, the Buddha's left hand chief disciple, Moggallana, one of the two chief disciples, Moggallana, came and subdued and tamed the naga so that everyone could live peacefully. So that's one event. So These hermit witness Buddha's disciple can come and subdue and tame the Nagas. They were quite impressed. And also, every night, at nights, the Buddha caves were filled with brilliant lights. Because the Devas came at night to pay respect to the Buddha, to listen to the Dhamma, to ask questions every night. Quite busy. And they saw these lights, knowing that the Devas are there. So they got really impressed. Only then did the hermits, being impressed, come and pay respect to the Buddha. Now the situation is right. At that time, Buddha taught them worshipping trees, forests, mountains, earth, water, fire, and so on as refuge. Out of fear is not the correct refuge. However, taking refuge in the Buddha, a proper understanding of the path, Dhamma, Megha and Sangha, who delivers. If you take refuge in them, would eliminate fear and suffering. That's a gist of it, but the details, it is a sutta, a big sutta by itself. That's how Agikata and the 10,000 hermits got the right view, Samadhi, before the fourth rain retreat. So that's another notable event because it is a whole group of 1,000 got onto the path. Another notable event is interesting just for us to know. Not a mass, just a single person. Kings of the Rajagaha. He has his own garden and he has his own chief gardener. His chief gardener, Sumana, and he has to offer fresh flowers to the king every morning without fail. One day, while Sumana was on the way to the palace with the flowers to deliver to the king, he saw the Buddha at arm's round. He could not contain his devotion and happiness when he saw the Buddha. So he offered the flowers that was intended for the king to the Buddha, knowing that he could be severely punished or even killed. He doesn't care. He just offers the flowers, taking his life at risk. However, he was spared and praised by the king, because the king is also a devotee of the Buddha. And at that time, the Buddha told to his fellow bhikkhus, this Sumana, due to this act, his act is a great volition, his generous act, even keeping his life on the line, that is the act. Keeping his life on the line because of this generous act, Sumana will become a silent Buddha, Pichika Buddha, silent Buddha. In the period between him, which means Gautama Buddha and the next Buddha, in between that period, Sumana will become a silent Buddha. That event took place during the 4th rain retreat in Rajagaha. So these 4 stories they all have their own lessons and different points to focus and understand. With these understanding, may you be able to practice mindfulness insight meditation and attain liberation from all form of suffering as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.